Hey everybody, welcome back to Crush Live Acres. Today the problem that we have is if your chain will not stay tight on your saw. I have a Ryobi 14-inch. You probably meet a lot of guys that say, hey, if it ain't Copenhagen, it ain't real dip. And if it ain't a steel saw, it ain't a real saw. Well, I buy Ryobi because it's affordable for a homeowner like myself. The saw is right about $100 and the tools work well. So there's my Ryobi chainsaw. Anyhow, the adjustment pin that keeps the chain tight is adjusted by this screw right here. Now, if your chain will not stay tight, and if you're turning that screw and it just doesn't feel like it's getting any traction, today we're going to talk about what the issue might be and some issues I encountered while I was trying to fix it. So here we go. 14-inch Ryobi chainsaw, changing out the adjustment pin. Okay, so first off, this is pretty straightforward. You're going to take off the two nuts that hold the assembly together that houses the adjustment pin. So when we get this off, in here, you'll see this little plate right here. And if I flip this up there, you can see the adjustment pin. And here in the bar, you can see where the pin goes into a little hole right there. And as you move the pin back and forth, the bar goes back and forth, and the chain gets tighter or looser. But this assembly itself is not very complicated, nor is it very robust. And I'm gonna take this apart and show you what happened to mine. Okay, so all it is two screws, you see, to get this little metal plate off. And when we pull that plate off, there we see the entire adjustment pin assembly. So it's got the screw on the outside. The screw is built like a sprocket, and as it turns, it spins this sprocket or this gear and moves the adjustment pin, which you can see sticking up right there, and moves it back and forth on this bolt. Now, this thing's pretty simple to pull out. Now, what happened to mine, and I was wondering what my problem was when I couldn't get my chain tight, this bolt, or really in this case, it's kind of a shaft, had split in half, and this pin was just hanging. So you order this part. I ordered mine from Walmart.com based on the model number, and it was about $5.50, probably $12 after shipping. But there's one little problem. When I put this in here and I started to put this metal piece back on, I just couldn't get the screw holes to line up perfectly. And what I found was that it had come from Walmart or from their supplier with this pin on backwards. So what I had to do was take the pin, oh, this is reverse threaded, take the pin all the way off simply by rotating this until the pin came off. I had to basically flip the pin around and put it back on. And what I discovered was until that pin was on the right way, which is with the edge or the flat edge pointing up this assembly, until that pin was the right way, I could not get this piece to fasten correctly, and if it didn't fasten correctly, it didn't line up with the two bolts. So it's that simple. Okay, so now that we have this this adjustment pin in, and we have this plate screwed on nice and tight, now we're going to go about putting this back on the saw and getting the chain as tight as it needs to be. Okay, so with the adjustment pin pretty loose, meaning it's going to be back towards the motor of the saw, I'm just going to slide this on here so that the adjustment pin goes into the hole that it is supposed to align with, and it needs to go into the hole on the bar, and then you'll know when you got it right because the two bolts that these nuts need to go onto will be nice and exposed and easy to get to. And you got to make sure at this stage in the process that your chain is aligned and ready to go. So I'm just going to kind of finger tighten these. And then now we're going to tighten our chain using our newly installed adjustment pin. You're just going to tighten this chain until you only have just a little bit of give. Little bit of give. There we go, a little bit of room for the chain to move. Should be moving nice and smoothly. And then we're going to grab our socket, tighten up these two nuts. All right, so now everything's put back together. Our new adjustment pin or chain tightening assembly is installed. Our bolts are nice and tight. Our chain has just a little bit of give, and our saw should be ready to go. So to test it out, let's go over and finish off a noble fir that I cut down a few days ago when the adjustment pin assembly first broke. And man, it should be good firewood. Hopefully the saw runs well. It's a nice day to cut. And as always, it's a pleasure to see you on CrushLifeAcres.com, and I'll talk to you later.